Welcome back. This is still E-Vibes, the entertainment show on Signature TV. So, I have a guest here in the studio, live and direct. Last week, I revealed to you an art gallery interview and, of course, reviews of some artworks. And today, here right with me is the artist himself. Well, we're talking about something very different and spicy, interesting, because it's been making rounds. We'll be talking about arts in the age of AI, inspiration or interference. I'm actually very curious. But let's review our guests to you. Welcome to the studio, UCHE AGONSI KUNTASH.
Thank you.
So, how you doing this wet Friday?
Very fine.
You're not cold, Abby.
So we are happy now. One
Okay,
walk
let's move. Let's start with you first of all. What inspired you to move into art?
Well, I always tell my interviewers, as a young man, I was just drawing. I love drawing, so that made me love integrated science. I was just drawing butterfly. So, and the thing left me with a very bad handwriting because then in primary school, I'll give somebody my writing to be writing for me while I'll be doing their drawing. So that's got into secondary school.
Yeah.
I was just drawing. I was just drawing. I love science.
So much.
Yeah, and I could remember I drew all the walls in our house. We are so few, there's no space. I remember going to our, then we call him Okochukwu, the catechist, and I begged him, can he loan me the church wall to start drawing? He said, he wants to see what I would draw. I just said the book of my Bible story, those
Yeah, Moses and
Samson,
the
David.
likes.
He said, go ahead. So I started drawing on our church wall. That's still the impact and the joy I derive in
Drawing.
drawing and doing art.
You actually marveled me now. You said you loved integrated science,
Yeah,
but you didn't study science in school. Am I right?
I did.
Okay, that will be story of another day, because I want to understand how you had to switch. So there was a time I reviewed a story from the foreign scene actually, and we saw some good things that the technology has done. We'll see artworks that is displayed, and you tend to see that artwork as if it's real. Let's assume you made an artwork of the forest, and people walk into a room like this, and you tend to see the leaves in that artwork waving and the birds flying. Now that brings my question. What role does AI currently play in the creation of visual art?
Before the coming of AI, I worked with movie industry starting from when I was young. That was 2000 or 1999. After Igodo, after most of this movie we started, and I was so discouraged because they didn't appreciate the role of artistic director.
Okay.
I love special effects.
Okay.
Each time you watch Nigerian movie, then you have an accident scene, they tie bandage on the right, while the man that had the accident was holding his left hand. You see that contradiction?
Yes.
And now a car hit somebody, he fell down with his face, and now they tie bandage on. Those disparities, and sometimes when they do cuts, it doesn't look like real wound.
Okay.
So then I could remember we approached them. We can do those things because I will sit on my own and imagine. At some point they gave us room, but those marketers from UWECA couldn't pay.
Okay.
Because sometimes you need to make human hand with silicone. Then we'll now put some tiny pipe inside. Then insert things that look like blood. You can now hold that silicone, which look like human hand, and use knife and cut it. And those blood will come out. People will feel it's real.
Okay.
But if you want to now say you will do this, they say, just tie the hand behind, cut, do this one, do this, and some of those things start looking unprofessional. And each time I watch a movie, I like watching the end. You now see different people behind the camera. You see the artistic
end
director,
credits.
you see this, you now see all these people are artists. So I was opportune to travel abroad. I saw some of the old areas they shoot those movies, like Titanic, the way they do makeup, they wear masks. These are people that love art and artists in their role. That's why sometimes our movie doesn't meet international standard, because some of the role the artists should play, they give it to people and say, do this, do this.
Yeah.
So in movie industry, like especially when you want to shoot animation, those things are sketches you make. They will now introduce the motion picture. And some of those things start working. But they were all sketches done on stages. So before now, AI is equally a program. And it's an artistic program too.
Yeah.
That can equally help image become motion and
But do you feel it threatens the human rights of those people that have the original copy?
no. Like I keep telling people, art evolves. Like during those days, the major art they knew was sculpture, painting, ceramics, textile. Most of them didn't know about street art, mixed media, performing art. Somebody can have body painting. So during the time of Picasso, they had pointillism, Dadaism, and others. But today, art has involved in so many areas. More names will come. People will now even. I saw a man. He says his work in millions of dollars. What does he use to paint? Electric iron. He just stretch a canvas and use iron and be pressing on the canvas.
Yeah.
And all those patterns, people love it. So what will you call that in style of art? We'll call it ironing or iron pattern or so creativity is something that you cannot stop.
Yeah.
Because very soon people start producing cars that can fly.
They have already.
Yes.
They have.
Those things are artists. Like the first aircraft was drawn by Michelangelo. Are you getting me? So all of them pick adaptation from nature, bird and all this thing. But because they had science background, they were able to measure the distance, the velocity, the speed. That's why sometimes I always tell artists, if you have science background and study art, it makes you unique. Rather than only studying art, having the skill. Like sometimes if I do a sculptural work, it can never fall. Because I have studied the space. I've studied the measurement. I've studied. That's why sometimes I can do an actor that will stand on one leg, it won't fall. Like you see that lion at your neck, it stand on two legs, can't fall. So that's science. You now have to calculate the balance. How much will you raise the lion so that the weight can be on the leg? So how much support will you give on the leg to carry the whole body? How much weight will you reduce from the body of the lion that can now match? But you need seeing some artists when they want to do, they do art in the round because they don't understand the science of fiction. You know, sometimes if you see an actor that looks as if he's flying,
Yeah.
it gives you that, like some people have entered that in architecture. You see them now building a building and things. And you would think the building will fall, it won't fall because they've studied
The scientific
part of it and they equally introduce it in their foundation. And these things are arts. Art of engineering, art of science, art of communication, so everything is art. That's why you hear people say art is life.
So are you agreeing now that they are not interfering, rather they are inspirational?
Yes, because two of them can be married in one form or the other, but they cannot be married. You allow them to go. Like when art started, medicine was inside art, literature was inside art. But at some point in life, they started separating them.
Okay.
Yes, because part of anatomy, medical doctor study today is art. So if you go to school, mass comm was part of art department, but they have to separate it. Very soon, like in this broadcasting, you will now have AI aspect of broadcasting. You get? So as those things are growing, they're like trees that have different branches. You should not feel bad. And that's why I always tell artists who doesn't grow, one day will fizzle away with some of the old nature of art. Like when Bruce Onabagbe started printing pattern, people thought it was mass production. But today that has become a norm. And some of these things are done with machines. So two of them will grow. They won't interfere. But an artist will play a role in two of them.
So my question is, don't you think that doing this, of course, technology is good, it has evolved, but when you see children using 3D effects and all that to create art and not knowing the originality, not knowing how to paint and all that, don't you think it would indict or affect them when it comes to arts category?
Like I always do, my passion was to help families understand the power and the purpose of art. Even when you give birth to a child, watch white men. Some of the things they use for babies are light colors.
Okay.
You can't see black. You can't see a baby wearing black. They use those friendly colors, those floral colors for a baby so they can now start understanding nature and start appreciating things like pink, light blue, some of those things. So when they introduce those things, the baby eye is forming. That's why sometimes art should be exposed to every citizen, every human being in life.
Okay.
Do you know why? Because sometimes you see this thing people call color blocking. It's confusion. Literally, somebody will now wear 7 colors. I say it's color blocking. I'm not wearing green, yellow, blue, red, white. And sometimes, if you don't understand color, it messes up with your emotion. You can't stay in a relationship. It affects you. If you can appreciate color, you can stay with anybody, because color is like emotion. Color determines how you feel.
Yeah.
If I paint this room now black, if you come here, you start feeling moody. If I paint it red, headache from anywhere. And you now say it's demon. It's not demon, it's color. That sometimes, check God now. He wears white in heaven. Why would God wear black in heaven? He uses gold. Watch all those colors. You know, sometimes we need to study from our creator. What are those colors in? And sometimes look at some things God created, like butterfly. See the amount of color. See flowers. See the amount of color God displayed there. Don't think God is not wise. But because we Nigerians don't appreciate art, that's why the suicidal rate is increasing. People don't appreciate flower. Give a girl flower, you say, what's flower? Give me recharge card, give me data. But when you look at flower, you study those curves, you study those color blend and all this. Sometimes it affects your emotion. It makes you feel good. So when you allow children to play with clay, they get used to it. They were able to form something. They say, this is something I was able to create. And before you know it, they can appreciate nature.
Yeah.
And even when you come to the room, you see color patterns. They appreciate it. Teddy. But most children in Nigeria, what is teddy bear? What is this? Sometimes when you give them teddy, you see them punishing the teddy bear. Tomorrow they will remove the head. Remove this. That's future bandits we are raising.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes allow them do take art in secondary school, take it in nursery school. It helps them to develop well.
That's quite interesting. Unfortunately, our time is up. Because I was enjoying this conversation. Honestly, it's something that interests me so much. But I really appreciate your insights, UCHE, AGONSI, KUNTASH. And I love your work, your artworks. And I pray it evolves, you know. This is where we draw the curtain. The show has come to an end. You know, join us same time next week, weekdays, Monday to Friday. And of course, repeat during the weekend in case you missed any episode. I remain your baby girl, Queenette Nwokonta. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.